The bell rang, signaling the start of a new school year at Orion High. The hallways were filled with the usual chatter and laughter of students reuniting after the summer break. Teachers greeted students with warm smiles and stern reminders about the importance of punctuality and focus. Amid the familiar buzz, a rumor had started to circulate about a new student joining their class. This was no ordinary transfer. The whispers hinted at something far more intriguing and mysterious. As the students shuffled into their homeroom, Miss Delaney, their homeroom teacher, was already waiting with a knowing smile. Her sandy blonde hair and kind eyes had a calming effect on the class. Today, however, she seemed unusually excited. "Good morning, everyone," she began. "I hope you all had a wonderful summer. Before we dive into the new school year, I have a special announcement. We have a new student joining us today. Please give a warm welcome to Zane Hellion." The door creaked open and in walked Zane. He was tall and lean, with jet-black hair that fell slightly over his piercing green eyes. His attire was unlike anything the students had seen before, a combination of high-tech armor pieces and rugged, worn-out clothes that seemed to tell stories of battles fought and survived. His presence commanded attention, and an uneasy silence fell over the room. "Zane has transferred here from a rather unique background," Miss Delaney continued, choosing her words carefully. "I'm sure you'll all make him feel welcome." The students exchanged curious glances, their whispers growing louder. A unique background. What did that mean? Mia, a bright and inquisitive girl with curly brown hair and a penchant for asking too many questions, couldn't contain her curiosity. "Hi, Zane, I'm Mia. Where are you from?" she asked eagerly. Zane's eyes flickered with a mixture of amusement and caution. "I'm from a place called Hellworld," he replied, his voice steady and calm. The room erupted in a mix of gasps and whispers. Hellworld was infamous across the galaxy. It was a planet known for its harsh conditions, brutal society, and dangerous wildlife. Few ventured there, and even fewer survived to tell the tale. "Is that even a real place?" whispered Jason, a skeptical boy sitting at the back of the room. "Oh, it's real," Zane said, his smirk widening, "and it's every bit as dangerous as you've heard." Miss Delaney clapped her hands to regain the class's attention. "All right, everyone, settle down. Zane, why don't you take the empty seat next to Mia? We'll have plenty of time to get to know each other better throughout the year." As Zane took his seat, the whispers continued. Mia leaned over, her eyes wide with fascination. "Hellworld, huh? What's it like?" Zane leaned back in his chair, a distant look in his eyes. "You wouldn't believe me if I told you," he said softly, more to himself than to her. The rest of the morning passed in a blur of introductions and syllabus overviews, but the students' minds were elsewhere. Zane's presence had ignited a spark of curiosity and excitement. By lunchtime, a group of students had gathered around him, eager to hear more about his life on Hellworld. "So what kind of creatures live there?" asked Sam, a tall boy with a keen interest in alien wildlife. Zane paused, considering his audience. "Well, there are the Dracoliths, for starters. Imagine a dragon but bigger, meaner, and capable of breathing fire hot enough to melt steel. And then there are the Skarnaks, venomous beasts that can paralyze you with a single bite." The students listened in awe, their imaginations running wild. Zane's descriptions were vivid, painting a picture of a world that was both terrifying and fascinating. He spoke of sandstorms that could strip flesh from bone, acid rains that fell without warning, and the constant struggle for survival among the planet's inhabitants. "But it's not just the environment that's dangerous," Zane continued, his tone growing more serious. "The people are just as deadly. Clans and tribes constantly fight for territory and resources. Betrayal and deception are part of everyday life. You learn to trust no one." Mia's eyes sparkled with a mix of fear and excitement. "How did you survive?" Zane's expression hardened. "You adapt or you die. My father was a warrior, one of the best. He taught me everything I know about survival, combat, and strategy. On Hellworld, you either become a predator or you become prey." The bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. The students reluctantly dispersed, but the tales of Hellworld lingered in their minds. Zane's stories were far from over, and they couldn't wait to hear more. As Zane headed to his next class, He couldn't help but feel a small sense of satisfaction. He had captured their attention, but he knew that integrating into this new world would be his greatest challenge yet. As he walked down the hall, he noticed a few students still whispering and pointing in his direction. Some looked intrigued, others wary. But one thing was clear. Zane Hellion was no longer just the new kid. He was the Hellworlder, and his stories were just beginning. The following days at Orion High were anything but ordinary. Zane Hellion's presence and his tales of HellWorld had become the talk of the school. Everywhere he went, students whispered and speculated about his past. He had unwittingly become a legend, a walking enigma whose life stories were far more thrilling than any vid game or holodrama. During lunch, a group of students began to gather around Zane, turning the cafeteria into an impromptu storytelling arena. Mia, ever the ringleader, nudged him. "Come on, Zane. Tell us more about HellWorld. What was the craziest thing you ever saw there?" Zane leaned back in his chair, his eyes scanning the eager faces before him. "All right, but this one isn't for the faint of heart," he warned. The students leaned in closer, their curiosity piqued. "It was a few years ago, during one of HellWorld's fiercest seasons," Zane began. "The planet's orbit takes it dangerously close to its sun every few cycles, causing temperatures to skyrocket and turning the surface into a boiling inferno. During this time, the hell beasts, creatures that usually lurk deep underground, come to the surface to hunt." Zane described the hell beasts with a shudder, detailing their massive size, razor-sharp claws, and molten rock-like skin that glowed with inner heat. "One night, our camp was attacked by a pack of these beasts. They moved like shadows, their eyes glowing in the dark. We fought hard, but they were relentless." The students listened in stunned silence as Zane recounted the brutal battle, his voice steady and calm despite the horrific details. "We lost many good fighters that night. It was a massacre. But it was also the night I learned to fight without fear. When you're facing a creature that embodies your worst nightmares, you have no choice but to confront your fears head-on." Mia's eyes were wide with a mix of terror and admiration. "How did you survive?" Zane's expression hardened. "I was lucky. My father was there. He saved me, fought off the hell beasts with a ferocity I'd never seen before. He was a true warrior. He always told me that fear is a tool, something to be controlled and used to your advantage." A hush fell over the group. The reality of Zane's world was far beyond anything they had imagined. But amidst the horror, there was a lesson, a glimpse into the strength and resilience required to survive such a place. As the bell rang, signaling the end of lunch, the students dispersed, their minds buzzing with Zane's tales, but not everyone was impressed. Mark, the school's star athlete and notorious bully, watched from a distance, his expression one of growing resentment. That evening, as Zane walked home, he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. The streets of Orion City were a far cry from the hostile environment of HellWorld, but old habits died hard. He remained alert, his senses finely tuned to detect any threat. As he turned a corner, a group of older boys blocked his path. Mark stood at the front, his arms crossed, and a smirk plastered across his face. "Hey, Hellworlder," Mark sneered. "I hear you've been telling some pretty wild stories. Think you're some kind of big shot, huh?" Zane's eyes narrowed. "Just sharing my experiences. Got a problem with that?" Mark stepped closer, his voice low and menacing. "Yeah, I do. You think you're better than us because you survived some alien hellhole? You're just a freak with a lot of tall tales." Zane's calm demeanor didn't falter. "Believe what you want, Mark, but my stories are real, and I'm not here to impress anyone." Mark's face twisted with anger. "Prove it. I challenge you to a fight. Tomorrow after school, in the gym. Let's see if you're as tough as you say you are." Zane met Mark's gaze with unwavering confidence. "Fine, but remember, you're the one who asked for this." The next day, the entire school buzzed with anticipation. Word had spread about the challenge, and the gym was packed with students eager to witness the showdown. Zane stood at one end, his expression calm and focused. Mark paced at the other, his face a mask of determination and anger. The gym teacher, Mr. Thompson, reluctantly agreed to oversee the fight, ensuring it stayed as safe as possible. "All right, boys. This is a test of strength and skill, not a brawl. Fight fair and may the best man win. The two boys faced each other, and the tension in the room was palpable. Mark lunged first, his movements fast and aggressive, but Zane was quicker, his reflexes honed by years of survival training. He dodged and countered with precision, his blows landing with calculated force. The fight continued, a dance of strength and strategy. Mark's brute force was no match for Zane's agility and skill. As the fight reached its climax, Zane delivered a final decisive move, sending Mark sprawling to the floor. The gym erupted in cheers. Mark, winded and defeated, lay on the ground, his pride shattered. Zane extended a hand, helping him up. "You fought well, Mark, but remember, strength isn't everything. Strategy and experience matter just as much." Mark nodded grudgingly, acknowledging Zane's victory. From that day on, the students of Orion High saw Zane not just as a storyteller, but as a true warrior. His tales of Hellworld were no longer just stories. They were lessons in resilience, courage, and the will to survive. Zane Hellion's victory over Mark had solidified his reputation at Orion High. He was no longer just the new kid with strange stories. He was a respected figure whose strength and skills were indisputable. However, with admiration came curiosity, and the students' desire to learn more about Hellworld grew stronger each day. It wasn't long before the student council decided to organize a special event, the Hellworlder Challenge. The idea was to have Zane demonstrate his unique abilities and share more of his extraordinary experiences. It would be a combination of storytelling, physical challenges, and a Q&A session designed to give the students a deeper understanding of what it meant to survive on Hellworld. The auditorium was packed on the day of the event. Students and teachers alike were eager to witness the Hellworlder Challenge. The stage was set with various props and equipment, creating an atmosphere of excitement and anticipation. As Zane walked onto the stage, the room fell silent. He stood tall, his presence commanding attention. Mia, who had become one of his closest friends, acted as the host for the event. "Welcome, everyone, to the Hellworlder Challenge," Mia announced, her voice echoing through the auditorium. "Today, we'll get a first-hand look at what it takes to survive on Hellworld. Are you ready?" The crowd erupted in cheers. "Let's start with a demonstration of Zane's physical abilities," Mia continued. "We've set up an obstacle course inspired by the harsh environment of Hellworld. Zane, show us what you've got." The obstacle course was a formidable setup, with towering walls to climb, narrow beams to balance on, and heavy objects to lift. Zane approached the starting line, his eyes focused and determined. As the whistle blew, he sprang into action. He scaled the walls with ease, his movements fluid and efficient. The crowd watched in awe as he navigated the beams with perfect balance, leaping from one to the next with agility and precision. When he reached the heavy objects, he lifted them effortlessly, showcasing his incredible strength. The final challenge was a simulated sandstorm, with powerful fans blowing sand and debris across the stage. Zane moved through it with practiced ease, shielding his eyes and keeping low to the ground. He reached the end of the course and stood tall, unscathed by the simulated storm. The auditorium erupted in applause. Zane's performance had been nothing short of spectacular. "That was amazing, Zane!" Mia exclaimed. "Now let's move on to the storytelling portion of the challenge. Can you share with us a tale from Hellworld that taught you an important lesson?" Zane nodded, taking a seat at the center of the stage. The lights dimmed, creating an intimate atmosphere as he began his story. "This story is about a time when I was just a kid, still learning the ropes of survival," Zane began. "My father and I were out on a hunting expedition, tracking a rare creature called the Night Stalker. It was a beast known for its ability to blend into the shadows and move silently. Capturing one was considered a rite of passage for young warriors." He described the eerie landscape of Hellworld at night, with its twisted trees and haunting silence. The audience hung on his every word as he recounted the tense moments of tracking the Night Stalker, the feeling of being watched, and the sudden, heart-pounding encounter. "We finally found it, or rather it found us," Zane continued. "The Night Stalker emerged from the shadows, its eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. My father stood his ground and I followed his lead. We fought the creature together, using every bit of skill and strategy he had taught me. The battle was fierce and intense, a test of their endurance and teamwork. Zane's description of the fight was vivid, painting a picture of the danger and excitement they faced. In the end, they managed to defeat the Night Stalker, but not without sustaining injuries. "It was a hard-won victory," Zane said, his voice tinged with both pride and sorrow. "My father told me that night that true strength comes from within. It's not just about physical power, but about courage, resilience, and the will to keep fighting no matter how dire the situation." The auditorium was silent, the audience deeply moved by Zane's story. He had given them a glimpse into the harsh realities of Hellworld and the strength it took to survive. "Thank you, Zane, for sharing such a powerful story," Mia said softly. "Now let's open the floor to questions." Hands shot up across the room. Zane fielded questions about his experiences, his training, and his life on Hellworld. The students were eager to learn, their respect for him growing with each answer. One student asked, "Do you ever miss Hellworld?" Zane paused, considering his response. "In a way, yes. It's where I grew up, where I learned to be who I am. But being here, with all of you, has shown me that there's more to life than just survival. I found friends and a new kind of strength." Another student asked, "What's the most important lesson you've learned?" Zane's eyes softened. "That you can't do everything alone. No matter how strong you are, having people you trust and who support you makes all the difference. My father taught me that, and my experiences here have reinforced it." The event concluded with a standing ovation. Zane had not only shared his incredible stories but had also inspired his peers with his strength, resilience, and humility. As the students left the auditorium, they felt a newfound respect for their Hellworlder classmate and a deeper understanding of the courage it took to survive and thrive in the most challenging of worlds. For Zane, the Hellworlder Challenge was more than just an event. It was a turning point, a moment where he felt truly accepted and understood. He had found his place at Orion High, and his journey was far from over. The success of the Hellworlder Challenge brought Zane Hellion closer to his classmates than ever before. He had become a beacon of resilience and strength, his stories and experiences from Hellworld resonating deeply with everyone at Orion High. However, with this newfound acceptance came an inevitable curiosity about the deeper, more personal aspects of his past. One evening, the school organized a campfire event in the expansive fields behind the school grounds. The air was crisp, and the sky was a canvas of twinkling stars. Students gathered around the roaring fire, sharing stories, roasting marshmallows, and enjoying the serene ambience. Zane, usually at ease sharing tales of his home planet, found himself unusually introspective. Mia noticed his quiet demeanor and nudged him gently. "You okay, Zane? You've been pretty quiet tonight." Zane looked at her, his green eyes reflecting the flickering flames. "Just thinking, Mia. There are parts of my story I've never shared, parts that are hard to talk about." Mia's eyes softened with concern. "You don't have to share if you don't want to, but we're here for you, Zane. You're not alone anymore." Zane nodded, taking a deep breath. "Maybe it's time." He stood up, drawing the attention of everyone around the fire. The chatter died down as the students turned to listen, sensing that this story would be different from the others. "Tonight, I want to tell you about why I left Hellworld," Zane began, his voice steady but tinged with emotion. "It's not something I've talked about before, not even during the Hellworlder Challenge." The students leaned in, the crackling of the fire, the only sound in the night. "On Hellworld, we were always on the brink of war," Zane continued. "The clans fought over resources, territory, and survival. My father was a leader, a warrior who commanded respect and fear. He taught me everything I knew about fighting and surviving. But as I got older, the conflicts grew more intense, more dangerous." Zane paused, the weight of his memories pressing down on him. "There was a prophecy among our people, one that spoke of a great war that would consume Hellworld. My father believed in it, and he knew that when the time came, I needed to be far away from the impending destruction. He wanted me to have a chance at a different life, one where survival wasn't the only goal." Mia's hand found his, giving a reassuring squeeze. Zane drew strength from her support and continued. "One night the fighting reached our doorstep. My father and his warriors fought bravely. but the enemy was relentless. Amid the chaos, my father made a decision. He activated an ancient device, a portal that could transport me to another world. He sent me through it, sacrificing his chance to escape so I could live. Tears welled up in Zane's eyes as he spoke. I don't know if he's still alive. HellWorld is a place where the strong survive, but even the strongest can fall. He gave up everything to give me a chance at something better. The students were silent, the gravity of Zane's story sinking in. They had heard tales of battles and beasts, but this was different. This was a story of sacrifice, love, and the hope for a better future. Mia, her voice choked with emotion, spoke up. Thank you for sharing that with us, Zane. Your father sounds like an incredible man, and you've honored his sacrifice by becoming the person you are today. Zane managed a small smile. Thank you, Mia. It's taken me a long time to come to terms with it. Being here with all of you has helped more than I can say. Another student, Jason, spoke up. Zane, you're one of us now. Your stories, your strength, they inspire us. And we're here for you, just like your father wanted. The group nodded in agreement, their faces reflecting a mix of respect and solidarity. Zane felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the fire. For the first time since arriving on Earth, he felt truly at home. As the night went on, the students continued to share their own stories, their voices weaving together a tapestry of experiences and dreams. Zane listened, his heart full. He had found his place, not just as the Hellworlder, but as a friend and a part of a community that valued and accepted him. The next day, as Zane walked through the halls of Orion High, he noticed the difference. Students greeted him with smiles, high fives, and genuine camaraderie. He was no longer the outsider with strange tales. He was a part of something bigger, something meaningful. In the following weeks, Zane continued to share his experiences, both the harrowing and the hopeful. He participated in school activities, joined study groups, and even helped organize a self-defense class, teaching his peers the skills he had learned on HellWorld. Through it all, he kept his father's lessons close to his heart. He had learned to trust, to rely on others, and to build bonds that went beyond mere survival. Orion High had given him more than just an education. It had given him a family. As graduation approached, Zane stood on the stage, looking out at his classmates. They had come a long way together, and he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they were ready to face them. Thank you, Zane said, his voice strong and clear, for accepting me, for believing in me, and for becoming the family I never knew I needed. Together we are stronger than any challenge HellWorld or any other world could throw at us. The auditorium erupted in applause, and Zane smiled, knowing that he had found his place in this new world, a place where he could honor his father's legacy and forge a future full of hope and possibility.